Welcome to the Epic Success Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Shannon Irvine. And today, actually, the next two podcasts, we are going to be diving deep into the brain science of conversion. Like, how do we get our followers, our email subscribers, the people on our live videos to convert over to becoming first clients and then ultimately raving fans? And as you well know, content, how we put ourselves out in the world, is vital in that transformation from follower to client to fan to super fan, right? And I wanted to dive deep into this. I've been doing a lot of my Brain Fuel Lives all around the brain based selling process and how you really do create that transformation in the brain first for somebody to buy. All of it hinges on how you show up in your content, however. So I want to talk about that today and the next week too. And to do that, I am bringing on an expert. One of my dear friends, Brandon Lucero, is breaking down what's changed in content creation, why the whole put all the free stuff out and do the constant content train doesn't work, as a broken model and is not what's converting. He's going to really break down for you. I really want you to grab a piece of paper and a pen and get ready for this master class. And it really was. This is something I did for my neuro coaches. I brought Brandon in to talk this through with my neuro coaching certification clients. And it was so good that I really wanted to share it with you. So you're getting an insider look into one of the business trainings for my neuro coaching certification master coaches. And this is for you. I hope you really enjoy it. Here we go.
So thank you for that amazing introduction. And I think you summed it up pretty well, like exactly what we do. What I'm going to talk to you guys about today specifically is content and messaging that influences. I want to show you how to create demand with content. I want to show you how to be everywhere with content. I want you to show you how to cause powerful shift. And when we talk about the things that we're going to talk about today, I'm sure it's going to start to make huge amounts of sense of why not only do you need to be incorporating stuff you're learning with Shannon into, all the stuff you're doing with your clients and stuff, but also in your upfront content. And so my whole thing is that content should be doing 70% of our selling. It should not, the selling doesn't always need to happen in the sales funnel. Okay. So there's a lot of misconceptions around content. And so before we get into the how-to of everything, I just kind of want to set the stage of what's really going on and what we're, a lot of the misconceptions and things. So right now, people think that, and the gurus are telling us that, we have to do a lot of how-to content. We have to do a lot of educational content. And this is how we add value. And to their defense, this is how business online was built for the last 10 to 15 years, however long online business has been in place. But what I'm saying is in today's marketplace, this is becoming less and less relevant and less where we need to actually be spending our time. However, the advice on how to grow a business online hasn't changed. And so what I'm saying is like, no, we need to change. We need to pivot. We need to adjust our content because you're going to blend in if you don't. The other thing that a lot of people do and talk about is that surveying your audience is what allows you to give you the best content. Just do what your audience tells you to do. Talk about what your audience wants you to talk about. And I'm standing up and saying, no, there's a massive difference between letting your audience dictate your message versus you crafting a message and content so powerful that your audience is enrolled to it. Like, do you think that Gary Vaynerchuk or Simon Sinek or Grant Cardone are running around serving their audience saying, hey guys, what do you want to talk? What do you want me to talk about? And then dictating their message? No, like Gary has a very specific message and he knows how to enroll people into the message. There's a big difference there. And if we continue to let our audience dictate what our content's going to be, we have a scattered message that's not consistent and we start talking about things that we don't even want to talk about. The next misconception is that being vulnerable builds connection. And for me, I'm like, no, vulnerability does not build connection. Being vulnerable does not instantly allow you to build a connection with someone. And the reason why is you can be vulnerable about a lot of things in your life, like very private things. And if it has nothing to do with your business, it's not going to build connection. However, what being vulnerable does is it allows things to come through that do build connection. But being vulnerable with your content and your messaging is more of the vehicle. The vulnerability is the vehicle that allows you to expose things to build a connection on it. Inspiration and motivational videos are empowering. No, they're not. again, inspiration and motivational videos, they are the vehicle that allows the empowerment to come through. But just because you do an inspirational video and motivational video doesn't mean you're going to empower anyone. It has to be crafted the right way. And so just purely thinking inspiration, motivation is going to allow you to empower people is a wrong way to be going at it, because you could be saying the absolute wrong things inside of your video. And then sharing your life builds connection is another misconception. Behind the scenes, well, again, very much like being vulnerable, sharing the behind the scenes is the vehicle that allows you to expose the things to connect on. Just because you share your life doesn't mean you're going to build a connection. And so hopefully what you guys are realizing is a lot of the misconceptions inside of the industry right now. There is some truth behind them, but what most people are saying is very surface level. Like, vulnerability builds connection, be vulnerable. No, that's a very surface level answer. We want to dig down beneath the surface. Is like, why does vulnerability? What are you doing when you're vulnerable to build connection? How do we lean into it? And so that's what we're going to focus on. And so right now, and here's kind of why how to educational doesn't work. This is what I call the content circle of death. Dramatic, I know, but hear me out. Just imagine there's a circle on the screen, and inside the circle, it says skills and zone of genius. The circle represents your niche. And so what happens is, like, if you're the first one to a space and you're doing how to educational content, you have that entire niche to yourself. But as soon as you get competitor A, competitor B, competitor C, competitor D, and you get all these people inside of that niche, you literally have to have the niche size double, triple, quadruple in order for the same amount of people to be attracted to your content. But as soon as you get one person, it's split in half. As soon as you get another person, it's split in 3 ways. Another person, it's split into 4 ways. And so what starts to happen is you start to blend in with everyone else. And the reason why is your skills and your zone of genius are, they're basically a commodity. So anytime you teach something, especially if you're teaching like a platform or you're teaching something else that a lot of people are teaching, you're relatively going to be teaching 70 to 80% of the same stuff as everyone else. And when you start to teach 70 to 80% of the same stuff as everyone else, you start to blend in. And this is why what's happening is there's more and more people jumping into the online space. There's more and more people starting online businesses. So when you teach a commodity, when your content is a commodity, your content's saying that like 70% the same thing everyone else is, you blend in. This is why people get no traction. This is why you're unheard. If you're spending most of your time on educational content, this, by the way, this process, what's happening right now, it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get more and more competitors, and the niche size isn't going to grow fast enough. Your niche may grow, but it's not going to grow as fast enough as you're getting competitors. And you have to understand, if you're basically giving the same steps and zone of genius, skills and teaching that as everyone else, and you are getting followers and you are getting traction with it, it's not because you're giving killer tutorials. It's because you're doing things inside of the videos that you're not recognizing, that people are actually connecting to you on. So if I give the steps on how to like make a video, I'm not going to be the only person online teaching people how to make a video. And most of the information that I give is going to be the same thing as someone else. But I might say something in the video that tells people that I'm a father. And then guess what? All the parents looking for this stuff might connect with me more because we share that in common. So what I'm saying is, like, let's not kill the how-to educational content, but let's figure out why people are connecting with us on it. How do we take a position that allows us to stand out? And then how do we lean in on the things that people are connecting with us on? And when we start to do that, what content messaging should be doing is pulling the audience outside of the circle content of death and into your circle, into your world. And so what I'm going to do and what I'm going to give you guys is the tools on how we're able to pull people out of the niche and put them into our own space. And this may even involve like adjusting your how-to educational content in a way where you're not teaching 70% of the same stuff. Like look at me and look at what I'm doing. In a lot of my content, I'm not the only person talking about messaging. I'm not the only person talking about video. I'm not the only person talking about like Facebook video. However, I am the only one talking about, the video 4X effect, which is my methodology. I'm the only one talking about how messaging and content go together. I'm the only one talking about the change that I want to make in the world. I'm the only one talking about how parents make the best entrepreneurs. Like, I'm the only one talking about that. And what that does is allows me to pull out the people out of that niche size and into my own world. So what I want you guys to recognize is, if you've had any growth, chances are you're already doing a lot of the stuff that I'm going to talk about today without even realizing it. So what I want to do is I want you guys to realize it, and I want you to lean into it. And the reason why is because there's a missing link that most people don't understand, they don't see. And basically what this missing link is that, we all have strategies. We all know ways to build a business online. We all know ways to sell. However, we can all at the same time recognize people that are using the same strategies as us, but getting bigger and better results. And the reason why is it's because what you fill the strategy up with, it's what you fill your content up with that ultimately makes the biggest difference. And that's messaging. And so we got to get that in place. Content should be grabbing attention, creating demand, and delivering your message, yet hardly anyone does that. Again, there's a massive difference between listening to your audience and enrolling your audience into your message. So what I want you guys to do, and what we're going to focus on, is how do we create content that plays on the edges? So it's very much like the purple cow. And I think that was Seth Godin who said, there's 100 cows in the field, and the only one that stands out is the one that's purple. And so it's about being different. It's playing on the edges with the message. And teaching doesn't allow you to really get a message out. It makes you more of the authority on a certain topic, but it doesn't really get a message that people can stand with, or a message that rallies people up. You just become a teacher at that point. And so, not a thought leader. So we're going to show you guys how do we get you to play on the edges. The next thing is, how do we get you to stand out because you stand for something? And so a great example of this, and we filmed the video the other day where I went into a coffee shop and I tipped the barista $100. And the reason why we did this was to basically show that messaging should better the world. Like, this is what I stand for. This is why I want to teach this to you guys. It can create a better society, and you can be remembered for causing great things. And so when I went in and I gave them the $100 tip, I asked them, like, what's been the biggest tip you've gotten so far in, being a barista? And she said $20. And she's like, I remember the day the guy came in and blah, 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 blah. And that was 4 years ago. And I remembered, I thought my intention of doing the $100 tip was just like, oh, she's going to remember me she's going to serve 500 customers today. I'm going to be the one she remembers because I did something good and gave her a $100 tip. And then I realized, wow, she serves about 500 people a day over 4 years. There's like thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And some guy gave her a $20 tip and she remembered it. I'm going to give her a $100 tip and I'm going to be remembered for years and I'm standing out because I'm doing something good. And this is what messaging should do. It should allow you to stand out by doing something good, like something so value adding and so good for your audience and for society and for your niche that people have no option but to pay attention to you. And that's what messaging should really do. And then at the end, messaging should also create demand, and content should be creating demand for your offer. 70% of selling should really happen in the content. So I'm going to tell you guys the story at the end, but and I'm going to get into the how-to and the educational part of it now. But what I really want you guys to know is what you're about to learn comes from knowing, not knowledge. And this is another reason why I believe that how-to educational, just sharing knowledge, is not always the best. Knowing basically is like, you can't learn to ride a bike by reading a book. You can take as many courses and read as many books as you want on how to ride a bike, but you will never learn how to ride a bike until you actually do it. And there's a feeling to it. In fact, if I asked you, how do you bounce on a bike? You probably couldn't tell me, but you know how to do it. And so what I'm about to teach you guys comes from knowing. I didn't just learn these concepts. I didn't just try them in my business. I didn't just get some kind of result on one of my videos or even in my own business and then teach it to you here. This is tested through 8 and possibly 9 figures of views over 2 years. This is tested through multi-millions of dollars of sales in various niches amongst a lot of different people. This is tested in multiple niches and different platforms with different priced products. So again, I have my business. We do sell courses, we do sell programs, but we also do this on a daily basis. We have an office with an actual team. I'm not just some guy, even though I know I showed up today in my PJs in my home office, but we have an actual office with real employees deploying this type of stuff. And so what I'm able to give you guys is that knowing today. So what I'm able to do is we're testing so much content and so much messaging, just boom, 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 faster than anyone in our space. And because of that, we're able to navigate it and know exactly what works and what to do. And so again, we're doing this with James Wedmore. We've done it with Stacy Tuschel. Rick Mulready, Mel Abraham, Carrie Green, Caitlin Batcher, Jim Fortin, Shannon as well. And so again, this is just multiple platforms, multiple products. Every day we're in here doing this stuff. Okay. So here's the 3 types of content that we should be focusing on. Number 1, thought reversal. And I'm going to dive into thought reversal so you guys understand what this is. But thought reversal really is what gives you thought leadership. So let's think of it this way. And Simon Sinek is like the number 1 person for me right now. Like I love reading his content, reading his books and stuff. And to me, he's a thought leader. And the reason why is because he's talking about things from a perspective that no one's talking about things. And in order to become a thought leader, all you have to do, it's very simple. People overcomplicate this. It's not just giving the best tutorials. It's getting someone to see a certain scenario, a certain industry, a certain niche from a perspective they've never seen it before. And to do it in a way that's not aggressive, that's not saying you're right, I'm wrong, or I'm right, you're wrong. And it's not coming in and just being a force of just like breaking people down. It's about empowering people. It's about moving people to a better place, getting them to see things from a better way. This is, for me, this is end suffering, because there's so many beliefs out there that cause suffering, that I want to show you guys how to end suffering for your audience. And I think that's the most powerful thing you can do. And it gives thought leadership status. A great example is just look at this presentation. I haven't gotten into any instructional, how-to, educational, step-by-step content yet, but I'm able to shift your perspective. I'm willing to bet there's been some aha moments. I'm willing to bet your mind's like, oh my gosh, I've never seen this before. This is what thought leadership access is, or status is. And I was able to do it without being aggressive, without telling you that you're right, that I'm right and you're wrong. I've been able to get you to see things. And I've also probably created demand for what I'm about to teach. And so, and I'll get into thought reversals right now, but this is what thought leaders do. They know how to navigate conversations. And here's the thing. I could probably end this thing right now, and a lot of you would probably say, wow, that just blew my mind. That was so value adding. And I haven't given a single step-by-step instruction yet. And so this is why thought reversals is so powerful. This is why the connection piece is so powerful. Okay. So the next one is connection pieces. So we have to have connection pieces. These will often be misconceived as inspirational, motivational videos, but this is where we build rapport, trust, and connection. And then the third one is going to be how-to educational, which is what really makes you the authority and will create demand. So with that said, let's get into thought reversal. So I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys, since you've been, working with Shannon and listening to her for a while, that you probably understand this concept, but just for the sake of it, I want to make sure we cover this. So here's basically what happens in the world and with every human. And this concept is basically where we start to create content from. So for years when I was building my business, my mom would tell me to go get a job. And when I tell this story, like, cause I would wake up in the morning, I would make my coffee, I would go up, and I was living with my in-laws and my parents, because my wife and I couldn't afford rent when we started our business. So every morning I'd go up to my office, and my mom would see me work hard every day with very little results. And she would every day say, are you sure you don't want to just go get a job? So when I tell this story, people would there's a lot of different interpretations. Someone might look at that and go, well, his mom didn't have faith in him. Someone might look at it and go, his mom loves him and is just trying to protect him in the best way she knows how. Someone might hear that story and think he's being disrespectful by not listening to his mom. And someone else is going to think his mom wants the best for her son. Who's right and who's wrong? No one. No one's right. No one's wrong. They're all just different perspective. The problem is that every single person who has that interpretation lives in a reality where that's actually real. And it's not real. And so the reason why I bring this up is because this is where thought reversals are going to stem from. We're literally going to shift people's reality, because people do this every day, every minute, every second, where something happens and they form some kind of belief through their own lens, through their own interpretation, through their own perception. And then they live in a world where that is actually true. And if it doesn't, and a lot of the times it won't serve them. And so what thought reversals do is to end that suffering for that person. So I was trapped in a world where I'm like, my mom is controlling. And then eventually when I realized this concept, I realized, you know what? My mom's trying to love me and trying to protect me. That was mind-boggling to me. Now imagine if your content can give someone else this transformation. This is why it's so powerful. And so now what I ended up doing is I ended that suffering, the suffering that I was living. My mom's controlling, we would fight. And now I'm like, my mom was just trying to protect me the best way she knows how. And that's a beautiful thing. A mom loving her kid, that is a beautiful thing. And that's where I live now. And we can do that with our content. So the two things to realize, number one, you guys can use this concept to end your own suffering in your own life. Look at your own interpretations and perceptions. Number two, we're going to use this concept to end the suffering in your audience's life. So here's basically what happens, just to bring this one step further, is that your audience has all sorts of different beliefs and all sorts of different interpretations and all sorts of different things like that. And I see questions coming in. I'm going to get through the presentation and then I'll answer them all. But basically, your audience is sitting here, and then maybe they have like 5 failed webinars, and they form this belief like, oh man, webinars don't work, right? So and if you're just listening, you're not watching the screen, let's just imagine there's a line above your audience now, right above them. Then all of a sudden, or like through their whole life, they've had people tell them they're never going to amount to anything. And then that puts another line. So there's a line on the right side of them. And they literally believe like webinars don't work for me because I've tried it 5 times, they don't work. And then people told me a whole life I'm not going to amount to anything. And then all of a sudden they've been told their whole life that college means success. So now they're like going through school, and maybe they dropped out to start their business. They had 5 failed webinars. Then they told people will never amount to them anything. And now the college means success, and I didn't graduate, so I'm not successful. And let's just, if you're listening, imagine a line on the right. So we have a line on the right, a line above them, and a line on the left side. Then they've been told their whole entire life that how-to content is how we add value, and that's how you build a following online, and that's a line on the bottom. So before you know it, your audience is in a box. So they live their life in this belief box. And what thought reversals are going to do is free them from that belief box. And the reason why I tell you this is because when you create thought reversals, you have to create them from the understanding that if something isn't true 100% of the time, it's a belief. And if something is a belief, we can always discredit a belief. Always. 100% of the time. There's always a way to discredit a belief and show that how it's flawed. So how do we do this? Well, okay, let me bring this one step further. So again, we create content from the understanding that everything is a belief. And if it's not true 100% of the time, then we can always shift someone's perspective. And we can end that suffering in their life. So on the screen, there's a 6 or a 9 drawn, and one person on one side and then one person on the other side. One person sees a 6, one person sees the 9. Who's right and who's wrong? It doesn't matter. Like, they're both right, they're both wrong. But what thought reversals will do is allow you, if you're the person who sees the 9, to get the person who sees the 6 to come over and see the 9 with you. And this is shifting perspective. This is, and we do it enough times, you get more and more people coming to see your perspective, and they start to rally behind your perspective. And this is where we can start to shift perspective, become a thought leader, and basically like change our space. So when we look at beliefs, these can be a couple different things. My favorite are outdated industry norms. Like, one of my favorite things to talk about is how-to content and how it's not the right way to build an audience. That's an industry norm. Like, it's normal for people to think they have to add tutorials and education. So I tackle that a lot. But we can also use thought reversals to take care of objections. Like, if you have a sales objection or something like that, like, for us, people always say, I'm afraid of the camera. So what did we do? We created a thought reversal video that said, you're not afraid of the camera. And we actually ran it as a Facebook ad. I had 500,000 views on it. Then that also means that I had 500,000 people that now know they're not afraid of the camera, that I can send down my sales funnel. This is why they're so important. We can take care of objections. We can position ourselves as a thought leader. We can take care of their limiting beliefs. If you keep getting the limiting belief that I can't afford this, or something like that, I don't have enough money for my program, you can do a limiting belief thought reversal that talks about how the most successful entrepreneurs always invest in themselves. They're resourceful and find ways to invest. And then you send that, if someone consumes that video and you send them down your sales funnel, guess what? You don't have to take care of those objections on the webinar or the video series as intently as you would if you didn't have that thought reversal. Okay. So this is how we start to do 70% of our selling. So here's the format for thought reversal. What we want to do is we want to introduce a common thought in the industry and talk about it's bad, it's wrong, or the old way. Don't overcomplicate this. One sentence is fine. And I'll give you an example. How-to content is the worst type of content you could put online if you want to grow an audience fast. So what this does is it allows me to play on the edges like we talked about earlier. It allows me to be that purple cow because I'm going against the grain. It allows me to stop the scroll on Facebook and Instagram because people are like, what are you talking about? And so that's really what it's designed to do. Then the second step is this is what I call compassion. Like, you have to understand, if we're going to go against the grain and we're going to use beliefs to go against the grain, people want to defend their beliefs always. So we need to be compassionate. We have to show some kind of compassion. Otherwise, they're just going to be super defensive. So this would be something like, I understand why you think that. Every guru out there is telling you to give everything away for free and to do constant tutorial videos. So I understand why you think that. So just make them feel like it's okay that they have that belief in the first place. And then we move into the next step. And this one is the most important. We have to discredit the belief. You have to. If this is messed up, this is not strong enough, this process will not be as effective as you want it to be. And what we use here are called sleight of mouth patterns. There's 16 of them. I'm not going to go through all 16 on today's presentation, mainly because I don't know all 16 off the top of my head. The reason why this is so awesome is because you can find like 2 or 3 of them that you really like and use them over and over and over again. And also, this is what Tony Robbins uses in a lot of his, like, if you understand sleight of mouth patterns, you watch Tony Robbins coach people on any YouTube video, he basically goes through all 16 of them until he finds the pattern that will work for the belief that the person holds. And so these are extremely, extremely powerful. If you guys want to learn them all, Robert Dilts is the person who created them. You can find some of his stuff online. So what we want to do is we want to discredit the common thought. Now, the easiest way to do this is what I would call chunking up, and you apply the belief to being true 100% of the time or for everyone. So, and I'll give you an example so this makes sense. Now, we have to understand, if a truth is true 100% of the time, it means a belief is not. So all we have to do is just say, is this true 100% of the time? Does everyone who use how-to content see really fast results? And the answer is always going to be no. Or the next one is a counterexample. Find an example of that everyone knows. This cannot be a case study or one of your testimonials, but a counterexample that proves the belief is wrong. So for me, I'm going to go through the first 3 steps. I'm going to do 2 different examples so you guys can see both of these in action. The first one is going to be, the belief is going to be that how-to educational content is how you grow an audience online. So here we go. Thinking that you need how-to content in order to grow a business online, and that's the fastest way to grow a business online, is some of the worst advice you can have. I understand why you think that, because everyone and their mom is telling you to add tutorials and survey your audience and give them more and more value. But let's look at Gary Vaynerchuk. He grew faster than anyone has and probably ever will, and he doesn't do a single traditional how-to educational video. So if he's not using it, why? Like, if he's not using it to grow his audience, then why are you? And so in that example, what I did is I used a counterexample. I used Gary Vaynerchuk as the counterexample to show that the belief is not true. Now people are going like, oh yeah, you're right. Like, oh my gosh, I never looked at it that. I never thought of it that way. So let's use the chunking up example. And this is applying the belief to everyone, or is it true all the time? So the common thought I'm going to go after is working hard guarantees success. So let's start off in the beginning. Working hard does not guarantee success. In fact, working hard does not guarantee success. I understand why you think that, because every guru and everyone out there is telling you need to work hard, hustle, and work until your eyeballs bleed. But does everyone who work hard become successful? No. In fact, you could work your ass off and have nothing to show for it. And so what I just did there is I just said, does everyone who work hard become successful? No. And so that's chunking up. I applied the belief. I said, here's the belief. I applied it to everyone. Does everyone who does this one thing see this result? The answer is almost always going to be no if you're really tackling a belief. So once we get through those first 3 steps, now we can get into whatever we want to get into. And so we can go into now you can go into the education of the right way. You want to introduce the new way or the new perspective. You can go into education. You can go to inspiration, motivation. You can do a lot of different things at this point, but they're an open playing field. You can take them any direction you want to go. So I could do something like, does working hard guarantee success? No. Otherwise, everyone who worked hard would be successful. But what do all successful people have? The right mindset. Can you find me any person who became successful and didn't have the right mindset? No. I could also say, so what does every successful person have? They have the confidence. Can you find me any successful person who didn't have the confidence? So if I was like a confidence coach or a mindset coach, I could just take them any direction I wanted to go. I could even say, so what did every successful person have? They had a mentor. So if I was trying to sell like a mentorship program, I could go that route. And so there's a lot of different ways you could just basically take them any way you want to go. And then after you're done introducing the new way, you want to tell them what's going to happen if they don't adjust or adapt. So I could say something like, so anyways, that's how you get the confidence, the successful confidence that every entrepreneur needs. Now, if you don't want to do this, that's fine. But what you're likely going to experience is going to be blah, 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 blah. And then the last step is going to be ask them if they really want to keep operating that way. And if they don't, then they can follow your call to action. So do you really want to keep thinking that you need to work hard and that confidence has nothing to do with success? That's fine. I can't help you. But if you're the type of person who's ready to start working on your confidence in the same way that all successful entrepreneurs have, then click the link and go get my free training, go get my webinar, go get my Facebook group, go get my whatever. And so that's the thought reversal format. And I wouldn't overcomplicate it. Those two counter examples in there, the two slide mouth patterns in there, the ones that I use all the time. So chunking up and finding counter examples. And those two tend to work the best with thought reversals. So all you need to do is just come up with your topics, and when you're using video, and by the way, you can use thought reversals anywhere. You guys can use these in webinars, you can use them in emails, ad copy, whatever. But we really like to use them in video because video is super cheap. We can get instant exposure on it. It hits people on all the senses that you can possibly hit them on. And it stops the scroll. It's very, very, very effective inside of video. It's like deadly effective. And so when you see all of our videos, we have the titles on the videos, like the bars, and we always just put the really polarizing headline right in the top of the bar there. So ours says people don't follow you because of your how-to content. If you look at this video, 351 shares, 30 comments, 351 reactions, 30 comments, 93 shares. This is normal for us. Like this type of engagement is extremely normal. Here's another one. You're not afraid of the camera. 1.1, so 1,100 reactions, 82 comments, 526 shares. 526 shares. I can pay for views. I can go to Facebook and say, run this to 1,000 people, but I can't pay for shares. I can't pay for reactions, and I can't pay for comments. The only way you get those is because you create engaging content, and content shifts people's perspective. You shift people's perspective, people will share your content and engage with it. Caitlin Batcher, this one, 630 shares, 900, basically 1,000 reactions, 53 comments. The title on these, all three of these videos, is people don't follow you because of your how-to content. That's number one. Number two, you're not afraid of the camera. Again, just going against the common belief. And then the next one is kids of today should take the path of entrepreneurship. Polarizing titles. And so that's kind of the secret to thought reversal.
Wow. Mind-blowing, right? No pun intended. Okay, so be back next week where we're diving into part 2 of how to get your content to convert and create raving fans. We're going to dive into the brain-based process of it. Brandon and I go back and forth on that. You do not want to miss next week. And so make sure you're back here to hear part 2 of how to transform your content into raving fans and clients. And if you have not subscribed to the podcast, I would really, really love for you to do that. And the biggest warm hug you can give me is a 5-star review on your podcast app, iTunes, Stitcher, all of the things we're on. And so if you leave a 5-star review, we always feature our reviews on our Instagram feed, and we will tag you in it. Thank you for that. Thank you for being a loyal listener. I love you to pieces. Remember, you are the creator of your thoughts. So create the thoughts that create the life that you want. Bye for now.